And Dr. Mustafa, I'd like to start with you as we shift gears to the national resistance movement now. What kind of preparations should the police be making? I know you don't want to make any political statements, but we know the national resistance movement has said that they will be staging several demonstrations. And we've seen some of those demonstrations go south very fast. So what kind of preparations should the police be making right now that they've been given early warning that there will be protests?
Thank you, Trevor. Yeah, I'm not a political analyst. I attempted to make some political statements last week, and
it didn't go down too
well. I mean, we say our mind, but a lot of times, you know, I think we need to look at the security aspects of the resistance movement and what should be done. And thanks for asking this important question. The first thing here, Trevor, is that any Kenyan is free to do what he wants to do. Whether it's social, economic, political, provided it's within the law. The second point here is the kind of message that we send out there. I think a few weeks back we talked about the radicalization of the political narrative in this country. And when we see individuals wearing combat gear, clothing is part of the narrative, and we see that on either side of the political competitors, both sides of those who are competing politically, sending a message through their dressing that, you know, we are ready for combat. That in itself may not be illegal. It could be, depending on how people interpret that with the, using the laws of the land. But the message that is sending is that is that of you know, not peaceful combat, or it could just be firmness. You know, political elites will need to do a lot more to convey a message of peace, and in whatever we do, in whatever we resist that peacefully, in a non-violent manner. For those who are then going to take advantage of the resistance and become violent and break the law, then the police have got to be prepared to deal with that. And in dealing with that, again, the police should not be dealing with it in the manner that they've dealt with the demonstrations before, clamping hard or shooting using live bullets. That's not on. The way George Musamali and others who have served in the forces haven't understand and have been trained on how to deal with demonstrations or protests that are or riotous mobs. It's very important that the security agencies use proportionate force that is not aimed at killing or maiming, but controlling the crowds and dealing with the most stubborn of rioters by basically finding ways to arrest them so that they don't cause chaos. And this is an appeal to Kenyans. Kenyans can resist. There are many things that we do not like, and we need to find ways to resist in non-violent manner.
Dr. Hassan, from a strategic perspective, what should the police be focusing on right now? Now that they have prior warning, they've been told way in advance. It's not something that will just happen out of nowhere. They know this is coming.
You know, the secret, Trevor, succeeding in anything is prepare, prepare, prepare. This is not going to be news to them. And democracy and the democratic project we have today called Kenya is messy. And for the most part, a lot of people are going to say things or do things you actually do not like. Now, if you believe in democracy, you have to be willing to let them say or do, or at least in line with the Constitution, as they so choose. Now, the NRM has every right to conduct its affairs as it so pleases in accordance with the law. And as Dr. here just mentioned, if everything is done in accordance with the law, they have a prior warning, which means the police has a responsibility to actually protect them. There are many demonstrations around the world, there are many protests around the world. You know, every year, every month, they're going on in the United States, in Europe. And a lot of times you're not going to hear about one fatality, one person having been killed. The police have extensive training, and I think I'll leave that to George to talk about it, to contain mobs, including riotous mobs, using proportionate force to ensure you don't have casualties.
Yeah.
And because they've been given prior warning, what I'm expecting is they're going to prepare to actually protect these people. Remember, their function is not to kill Kenyans, it's actually to protect them. Now, having said that, it's also important that leadership, just because we have a democracy, does not mean we also have the license to say things that might be interpreted by an average Kenyan as a call to arms, for instance.
Yeah.
It's not okay. We are held at a higher standard as leaders in this country, that we should always watch out what we say and how we say it. Last week I did mention that sometimes it's not about just asserting your rights, it's about doing what is right by the country. And so we're going through a period of crisis in this country. We have to be very careful, because this experiment, it can only last if we allow it.
Okay. George, and you've been in the service before. At this particular point, is there a training that happens that you already know there's a protest that is coming and this is how to deal with it? Or is it that at the end of it all, there are those who disobey orders and then it ends up being, just goes south because some people are shot, there's accusations police are using excessive force? What is the missing link here? Is there training or not?
Normally there's training on how to deal with different situations. Okay. And as you've said now, the NRM has come in, the warnings are out there. And I think we have phases in this. And the first phase is always prevention. Yeah. How do we deal with prevention? Prevention comes in intelligent-based operational planning, because we don't know what this will metaphors to, because it will evolve at some point. And as Dr. Mustafa said, we have the radicalization of the population. You saw what happened in Kisumu. We have young men that were radicalized. Their leader said we should not go out and protest on 26th. But you saw what happened in Migori. You also saw what happened in Kisumu. I mean, it has taken a life of its own. It seems that the leaders are no longer in control. Yeah. And what is happening down there, then the police have already know what they're going to face. This is a resistance. And as Dr. Hassan has said, you can do it legally within the bounds of the law. And at some point, it might change into something else. Let's take examples of places like Southern Sudan. We had the SPLM, Sudanese People Liberation Movement. Let's go to Uganda. We had the NRM. What germinated from the NRM? The NRA, National Resistance Army. Are we facing the same situation here? What germinated from the SPLM? The SPLA. That was the military wing of the SPLM. So if we look at the situation as it is in Kenya, yes, the NRM leaders are saying that we're going to do this within the confines of the law. We are going down to the assemblies. How will the state react to this? And if it comes to a point whereby excessive force will be used against the protesters, then automatically you should expect an NRA. Are we prepared for that as a country? So we need to have this conversation. Let us not bury our heads in sand. Yeah. Let us look at examples from the neighboring countries, how these movements all evolved into having armed wings. And as we know in Kenya, we have a very big problem in our hands, in that there's a lot of illegal firearms in the hands of people, the civilians in this country. Okay. We have this situation in Laikipia now, we're facing it. We have the same situation in Marakwet. And the reaction of the government has always been arming more civilians in the name of protecting themselves. Okay. So if this thing is not handled very carefully, if we are not having a conversation and saying, yes, you people have the right to picket, you people have the right to demonstrate, but it has to be done within the confines of the law. Yeah. And the reaction of the security apparatus. We've said that we start by prevention. Prevention means collecting intelligence, knowing exactly what these people want to do, and then preparing ourselves. Yeah. We say that if it gets to a point whereby we'll have people on the streets, then we need to deal with them in this way. The reaction now. Okay. It's very important. And then from the reaction, we come to recovery. So we have having a bigger problem in our hands, and then the security organs need now to be prepared. They need to prevent this from happening. And when we talk about prevention, then as I've said, it's important that the NIS should be up to the game. Okay. Let them be out there collecting intelligence, knowing what the NRM is planning. And remember, we might have a counter reaction from the Jubilee party. Look at what happened in Kawangware. Young men armed themselves in Wangige, they armed themselves in Kikuyu, they marched to Kawangware. Information was passed to the police that we are seeing young men with machetes heading towards Kawangware. What was the reaction? Nothing happened until property started being destroyed, people started being killed, before now the police came in, not to prevent, but now to stop the killings. We have become reactive. And as we are saying, this is a situation, the flag is up there, what are we doing?
Okay.
Trevor, just to interject there, rather what Musamali is talking about, these conversations have got to start in dialogue and talking. People can just continue talking at each other. They need to talk with each other. The political problems we are facing in this country is as easy as A, B, C, D. It can be resolved. The more challenging problems that we have in this country are what we are seeing in Laikipia, what we are seeing in the coastal part of the country. The more challenging problems are contained in the TJRC report, are contained in the Ndungu report and many other reports. The political problems can be resolved in this country.
All right. Prof.